a couple, was it 2 weeks ago, thereabouts?
3 or 4 weeks.
And I thought that was, I enjoy doing it. And then I said, well, I've got this base and I've got all this stuff. And one thing I hate to do is to make things for demonstration and throw them away. It just seems a big waste. I know a lot of people, they'll cut a dovetail, and then as soon as they do the 90, they throw it away. But I think in the moment of heat of the battle, I said, okay, well, I think I'll finish it up and continue on with it. So I did, and that's what this video is all about. It took me 5.5 hours to do what you see in this video. The video is only like 4 minutes or 4.5 minutes. We can stop the video anytime you want if you have a question or whatever. We could go back to it, or we could watch the whole thing and I'll talk through it. It goes kind of fast, but we can go through it once and then go back and look at another scene or whatever. And I'll try to keep up with the narration as we go along. Like I said, it took me about 5.5 hours to do this. A little bit last week, an hour the other day, and then about I think about 3 hours today. And I did something different, and what you'll notice something kind of a little bit unusual about the tabletop. So on that note, let's do it. Let's play the movie.
Let's see if I could figure out how to play this thing.
Yeah, just share screen and then click on that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead. Okay, this is basically the two pieces.
We're seeing it fine.
What's that?
We are getting it.
Okay,
so.
you got it. Okay, I'm going to just start playing it, and okay, these are the after the glue up that we did the other day. You can see how rough and ugly and cobbled up and square and beat up it looks. And right there's a big nasty place, tear out that I didn't want to route. And you can just see how quick and dirty, for lack of a better word, but the joint is good, and it's at 90 degrees. Everything is perpendicular and flush. I would normally take it down a little bit more, and this is after a few minutes of using this guy right here, if you can see it. Yeah.
Here, let's
pause
this for a second.
Okay, just
let's
what?
get rid of those people.
Okay, I don't know what you're doing. I can't see me.
Okay, all right. There, it's playing again.
Okay, if you can see this is the file that I used. Now I'm developing a hard line, that's what I'm pointing at. You notice that I'm reducing mass, visual mass. I'm just making it to where it flows in, and it's just going to town. I wish I could work that fast. But
everything get faster, right?
But I'm just using a Nicholson 49 that has been recently resharpened. Cuts like fantastic. And I'm really trying to maintain. Okay, now here we're gonna. You see the little. I'm gonna go back just a little bit. Okay, you see right there. Can you see the cursor? See this little area right here? Somebody, if you can, it's not quite round. And then when I start it back up, the next picture is after I've spent a few minutes. Okay, see there? See how that contour goes away, and it's a nice sweep. Okay, and that's all by eye and by hand, using the tool as to kind of fill in. This guy I sanded down to 4,000 grit. The bases I'll sand to 4,000. The top I only sand to 400, and I'll talk about that when it gets there. I spend 90% of the time in 120. And then I double it, 120, 220, 400, 1,000, 2,000, 4,000. Not quite exact, but that's my step. There's the 1,000 Festool paper. And then I think I edited out the 4,000, I think, when you kind of get that. but then it just gets nicer and nicer, and that hard line starts to become more noticeable, adds a little bit of visual interest, and it helps your eye not see the mass as big as it is. And okay, we're getting there. Okay, a little bit more. I don't know why. Again, after 5 hours. Okay, now I'm oiling the top. I use, this happens to be varnish, tung oil, and linseed oil. You notice the wood is really dark and black. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. I charred the wood and then I sanded it down to 400. That's why it's so dark. I've been wanting to do that for a long time, and it really, I'm really pleased with the outcome. And it kind of it softens the edges, and it kills any bugs that happen to be in the rescue wood, which my wife would appreciate. Your daughter would love the spiders, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think she'd really approve.
I won't tell her that. I won't tell her that. Now, the varnish tongue and linseed oil goes on so nicely, and this is only after one coat. I usually do about 3 coats, a week apart. It builds up a really beautiful, it feels like, when you sand to 4000, it feels like ivory, so super smooth. And there it is. There it is. I think it's a table. You could sit on it, but I don't think it would. Okay, and that's what it started to look like, or that's what it started off. And it's amazing the transformation after only 5 hours. You know, and if it were twice as big, it would take 10 hours and etc. I mean, it is kind of a linear thing. It just takes time. Time to do. Transformation. Okay, enough already. There it is. That's it. That's my brand, or my trademark.
Trademark, yeah, whatever that thing's called.
Maker's Mark.
Maker's Mark. There you go. Okay. Well, that was quick and dirty. And you guys got any questions? You want to? Oh, go.
Sweet. And maybe put the top on, and everyone can see what it looks like assembled. And
Okay. Well, here I'm gonna put this guy right here. Right. Can you see it?
Let's see, let me get this thing.
I have a question maybe you could talk about. Like, when you start to sculpt the base, do you have like a plan, or do you sort of just put metal to wood and sort of let it take its own shape, or do you like pre-visualize it, or do you sort of start off with an idea and let it decide itself, or how do you go about deciding the shape of like your sculpting?
Yeah, there's some things that, I've done this style of base many times, and I like the formation of these hard lines on the leg. There's a little hard line right here. Again, there we go. Little hard lines right here, and then I try to mimic them up here. And I really don't have I don't know exactly where that hard line's going to be. I just do it till it looks good, and then I form it in. Same way with the legs. But I just love the way that this darkened.
Yeah, move it closer so people could.
This guy here, and I like the contrast of the old gnarly burned wood, and there's no residual. It's got one coat of oil on it, and it doesn't rub off or anything. I was talking earlier that I really like the round, when you burn the edges, it kind of takes off the hard edge, and it softens a little bit. I really like that. And then where the wood is softer, like right here, this is the sapwood, and it really burns, and it adds a lot of character.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I like the contrast between the perfectly, in quotes, made base,
Yep.
with kind of a rustic but elegantly finished top. So that's what this guy's all about. And I wouldn't have made it unless Kevin wanted to demo the pocket joint, which I think is really viable.
Yep.
It can be used for elegant furniture. It can be used for using the rescue wood. Very flexible.
So take the top off so you could show people that didn't see basically exactly what the pocket joint
Yeah,
is.
the pocket joint is how we cut these guys out and make them fit perfectly in this. You make this guy and then you set it on the top and then you put plywood spacers down to use it as a guide for a router bit. Very
Yeah,
simple.
And pretty much the first video, we covered that pretty much and showed exactly how that was done. And it's actually, like my coffee table that I made, it uses exactly the same thing. And I think there's a picture of that coffee table on the website, a certain round table with 5 legs. But yeah, and it's a good way to, like you just said, to fit the tops on the,
Yeah, or you're making a chair with the same joinery.
yeah, for the seat of the chair, the base for the chair, it basically fits into the legs using the same pocket joints.
And this guy's becoming my new friend.
Comment on the product you use for the finish. You said linseed oil, tongue oil, and
Yeah.
varnish. Is this your own mix or is this some commercial product?
No, it's my own mix. It's a finish that they've been using for years and years and years. A lot of people, you can buy basically a similar thing commercially. But what I find is I like linseed oil and varnish, spar varnish. It's a little thick, so sometimes I'll put in mineral spirits. And then sometimes if I think it's gonna get a little more like sunlight or a little bit more of abuse, I'll put a little bit of tung oil in it. Tung oil is fairly expensive. I think it adds a little bit, but I'm not, I do kind of, I've done it enough where I just kind of mix it up like I want. And I'll mix up, I'll buy a gallon of linseed oil, a gallon of varnish, and then I'll mix it up. And if you notice, this guy here, I made this $7.21. I'll mix it up, buy the cans at Home Depot, and I've got tons of it. I've got some.
Now the stuff that I used a year and a half ago, I think that was like 15 years old or something.
Yeah,
or no?
yeah. I don't know. The longer it sits, the better it is. Let me see here. Yeah, here's some stuff. Yeah, this is the mix, which is linseed oil and varnish, and tung oil, and I put beeswax in it. It just adds another little texture. And this was made, I don't think I have a date on this one. And this is 6/14/21. This is 50/50, the mixture plus mineral spirits. So I've experimented enough. I like the little bit runnier stuff. Just this stuff I put on this guy is really thick like honey. And sometimes it doesn't go into the pores enough on something really finely. Like if the top had been finished to this extent, I probably would have put a little mineral spirits. But I love the linseed oil based finishes. You can buy all kinds of stuff over the counter commercially.
Yeah, like Rockler has a big selection of like the Sam Malouf oil.
Yeah, the Malouf oil.
There's like a poly mix.
Yeah, what is
poly
that?
varnish mix is what that is. That's what they
Yeah,
call it.
what I've done is I've read what's in the MSDS material data safety sheets, and if you notice, most of the commercially available products really don't tell you what's in it. Proprietary knowledge or the stuff that's in the Malouf oil, I don't know what it is.
Yep.
So, hey, I've been using this for 40 years, and and variations of it, it's great. Beautiful. I love talking about the finishes because people really kind of like to do the fancy stuff.
Yep.
This stuff works fine, cheap, reasonably cost.
What spar varnish do you use?
McCluskey's. We can, contrary to public opinion, we can still buy McCluskey's spar varnish in quarts. And it's totally available now. If I need to mix up some mix, I'll buy, I'll accumulate a couple, 3 quarts of McCluskey's spar varnish and mix it up, and it's totally legal. You can't buy it in gallons in California. I don't know why.
That's
But-
California.
Yeah, California. That's okay.
California, yeah.
We have workarounds. Again, it's totally legal. It's totally cool. I used to use the Maloof oil from Rockler, but about 5 years ago they changed the formulation, and it's not the same stuff. I don't know what it was to begin with, but the stuff that they sell now, I quit using.
They put more of the poly stuff.
Well, yeah, they put it. It's more, I think, water, less VOCs and all that. So, does that answer your question, Kenny?
Yeah, that was kidding, yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And I got several cans of McCluskey's.
Any other questions about finish type stuff? What do you use, Jay, for your work?
Well, it kind of depends what I'm doing. I like Osmo, a wonderful product. And,
Yeah.
I learned a hard lesson recently. I did a knee wall in our home, and I put a cherry block on it that was about 2 inches thick as the sill sitting on top of the knee wall. And my wife, after I finished it with the Osmo, she put plants in little small pots on top of the knee wall, and it looked great. And I happened to be in the house one day, and I heard her kind of, "Oh my gosh!" And I came over, and there was beautiful ultraviolet effect of where the pots had been sitting.
Yeah.
Where it's darker, where the sun had exposed,
Right.
less dark, where the pots had been sitting. So I called Osmo and I said, "Hey, what's this?" And they said, "Oh, well, what wood did you use?" And I said, "Cherry." And they said, "Oh, cherry is very UV sensitive." And I said, "It'd be nice
Nice
if
to
you
know
put
that.
on the can, that this doesn't give you any UV protection."
Yeah.
So they actually make a product that's UV
Yeah.
protected. And I completely redid it. And I don't know how I got the sill off, because it was down with a pretty significant adhesive and liquid nails, and was able to pop it off and take it back out to the shop. I took the finish completely off and put the Osmo with the UV protection, and it's done beautifully.
Yeah.
Now it's been back in place for several months, and I don't have any more of that UV effect.
Did you have any? Did you have any?
Also,
Oh.
I'm
Did you?
sorry.
Yeah. Did you have any trouble with the cherry kind of splotching with the? In my experience,
No, and I didn't precondition it. Sometimes,
okay.
if I'm not sure, I'll take a piece of scrap and
Check it out. Yeah.
see if I need to precondition.
Cool.
You certainly need to do that with the lighter colors. But,
Yeah.
and then another product that I love is Rubio Monaco.
Yeah, I've never-
If you had a chance to use that at all.
was it Ruby Monk?
Rubio Monaco. Yeah, it's wonderful. What I love the most about it is it's a one coat application.
Yeah.
Almost always no run lines, no drips. It's just you basically trowel it on with a plastic spatula,
Right.
and then you let it sit for a while. It's an absorptive product, and then you rub off the excess.
Okay.
Let it cure, and it does a beautiful job.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm gonna write that down. I like to read the MSDS sheets. See what's in it, see what's in the finishes. Odie's oil. That's one that everybody is talking about now. That's expensive stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, geez, I took my breath away.
Yeah, and
I thought that the first time I used Osmo, but it just goes so far.
Okay.
I mean, a quart of it's about $50 or so.
Yeah.
But and the same, and Rubio's expensive as well. But you use so little
Tiny
of
tiny
it,
amounts.
just-
Okay.
Yeah, it just goes a long way, so it doesn't prove really to be. I mean, it chokes you when you buy the can, but I mean, per application and square area that you're applying to, it's actually pretty reasonable.
And it's durable.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Cool.
Yeah, I think and I think Odie's oil was a good one, and I did mention that. I've used that as well. That's an excellent product.
Yeah.
And it's nice. That's a nice product if you're looking for like a charcuterie board or a cutting board.
Yeah.
So it's food safe.
I think on Odie's oil, I read something about it does have linseed oil and other, I think, varnish in it. And there's a caveat that for cutting boards and that sort of thing, I think after it cures, it's totally inert.
Right.
Read it yourself. I think the best. Do you use mineral oil for your cutting boards and stuff?
Oh yeah, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, that.
And the big box stores all carry something that's got beeswax and mineral oil,
Yeah.
and they sell it as cutting board oil. They also have a product they call cutting board conditioner.
Yeah.
So when you first make the board, you put the conditioner on, and then when you after you've had some use, you start adding adding the oil. So whenever I make a board and I give it away or sell it, it always goes with the bottle of the oil.
Oh, yeah.
And I tell the client that it never goes in the dishwasher.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Yep.
So.
I actually kind of a variation. I've made lots of case goods with drawers and that sort of thing, and I've always, after I've made the drawer and finished it, I finish inside and out and everything, and I use my drawers look just as good as the case, and then I use my linseed oil mix, but then I keep the doors open, the drawers open for a week. Because if you if you oil it with the linseed oil varnish mix, you close the drawers and you open it back up, man, it knocks you over the first couple of weeks. And somebody told me, and it makes sense, you should use, for the inside of drawers, you should use mineral oil. It absorbs in, it doesn't, you wipe it all off, and it doesn't have that smell.
Right.
And also, it will never go rancid, and sometimes linseed oil can go rancid. If it's in a closed environment, it rots. And I've seen a couple, or I've smelled a couple of those. I said, okay, but now I use the mineral oil on the inside of drawers, just as a.
Yeah, that's good. So one of the other things we're doing here is just general questions. So we have some other people here. If you have, like Randy, if you have any questions, or Mr. Zoom user there, if you got any questions, we're whatever you want to talk about. We're like what are your projects? What are you working on?
Yeah, I don't know if you covered this on the first class because I didn't get in on that one, but. Could you address, I assume that the technique you used on the top was the shoshugiban, where you burn it? It's the Japanese shoshugiban method?
I burned it.
Okay, it's the technical term is shoshugiban.
Shoshugiban, I call it, okay.
And then it kind of preserves it. But then, what did you do? It looks like that's a walnut slab.
That is a walnut.
Okay, I've done that on softer woods like a pine or whatever. So what did you use a wire brush on it after you burned it, or sand it, or what?
Well, the first thing I did is I wire brushed the whole thing, all of the live edge, a lot, with a heavy steel wire brush. And then I sanded it to 120 to make it, get me a starting place, because I've never done this before. And then I got my MAP gas guy, and I just torched it. And I actually charred the top layer of the walnut. It actually, you could see where it there was alligatoring a little bit. I mean, tiny bits of alligatoring. And then after that happened, I sanded the heck out of it back with 120. And I was a little concerned that the soot would come off, but I sanded it down to 400 after all of that. And then I put the oil on it recently. And like I said, I may do some higher quality tabletops using this method because it really was fun to do. I liked the way that the flame rounded over the hard edges or the really sharp edges. I don't know if you can see it right here, but where the heartwood burned faster than the heartwood burned faster than the sapwood burned faster than the heartwood, and it just adds a little character to it. It's, I'm, learning something at 73.
I've just never used it on walnut. I've done a lot of live edge walnut, but I've never used it. But if you research it and look it up on the internet, it's called shoshugibon, and it's an ancient Japanese technique of wood preservation, and they do burn the wood to a char.
That preserves it too?
What's that?
It preserves it also?
Yes, it preserves it.
Cool. I see. I love. Thank you, Kevin, for I didn't know that. I love it.
Yeah, you stumbled on it. Didn't
Yeah. Hey,
you?
I didn't invent this.
What are your some
Well,
of
nowadays it's more for looks, but back in the day, before they had the high-tech oils and stuff, that used to be
It did preserve
preservative.
it. I'll be darned.
Yeah, say Randy, what's what are some of your if Dennis had asked you before doing this, what would some of your advice have been?
Yeah.
You know,
As far as what?
for doing the charring it and stuff. What's
Shoshugibon, man.
yeah, so should be.
Yeah, they should shoot you. I've only done it on softwood, so whenever you showed it on the walnut, I hadn't even thought of doing it on the walnut. It creates a good effect. It brings out the really dark areas and stuff, and so I'll probably try that on some stuff.
Okay, now.
On the softer woods, it sort of brings out the texture a little bit more too, doesn't it?
Well, I'm sure it would
Absolutely.
burn.
It will burn. It will burn the sapwood. So, like if you take a piece
Yeah.
of pine, go to Home Depot or whatever and buy a 2x6, and then take your torch and torch it all the way till it chars, and then use a wire brush and scrub it, and it will. It gives a texture because the late wood, the heartwood,
Right.
will actually form ridges, and the softwood, the sapwood will kind of burn in, so it'll give it a piece of texture.
Fascinating. Now, I have to confess that I like this so much that I cooked this guy. I mean, I burned it. It was a crispy critter.
Yeah, it's the same shade of.
And it was, because it's so finely made and all that kind of stuff, it looked truly boring.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to sand it. I sanded it completely down and finished it to my usual 4,000 grit. And I was impressed at how bad this looked burned and how great this gnarly piece of walnut, I think it's Clara walnut, look totally different. Two totally different animals. I'm gonna have to check out that. What is it, Shoshone?
Yeah, we'll have to figure out how to.
What species of wood are the legs made of? Is it also walnut?
It is,
or
yeah,
different?
black walnut, probably from Indiana, thereabouts. This guy here is probably California Claro walnut. It's the only species of walnut that grows native in Northern California. And it's really desirable. If you can get, you can get really nice pieces of this and make furniture. I've made several pieces, but this piece is just, it was a throwaway, and I love it. So I love walnut. I do 90% of what I make is out of walnut. So
Yep. Any more questions? Steve, do you have any specific questions of any type for, because you mentioned you're doing the wood turning and getting into things, and is there any,
Maze, how long did it take you to assemble the legs before you started finishing?
we did that in an afternoon, right? That was all, from the, so he had done the cutting out the legs where it was actually done ahead of time, right? From,
yeah, okay. The legs. I was gonna do a 3-legged stool for a long time, and I cut out.
there's one right there.
I cut out blocks, rectangular blocks,
Okay.
a long time ago. You know, this is just 6-quarter walnut, and it was a rectangle. You know, there's a 90 and a 90, and I cut these blocks out, and then I did this form right here and this, and I left this guy a block. And I did that a long time ago. And then when Kevin wanted to do this a demonstration, I said, oh, okay, now's a good time to do this. So basically, it took, how long it took after having the rough block and 2 bandsaw cuts, it took a few hours to go from that to this.
What kind of joints did you use?
These are dominoes, dominoed.
Domino.
Are you familiar with domino?
No.
Okay, the first one that we did, you might want to go back and watch that. It really kind of explains the simplicity of this. You don't have to use dominoes. You could use splines.
Okay.
You could use dowels. You could use any other method of joinery.
All right. Good.
That was another reason I wanted to do this. Is this project only took, even though we were filming and doing all that kind of stuff, it only took us like 6 hours,
Right.
including the filming, to totally make this and get to the start of the video that you just saw, where it was all gnarly and cobbled up and it didn't fit right. But all the joinery was perfect, all of the angles were perfect. The rest of it is just handwork with my favorite grinders and Nicholson 49s and all that.
Looks nice. Very nice.
It is a very appealing. I wish you could handle it. It's like what is it like? Ivory.
It's super smooth and just.
Yeah, 4,000. We sand to 4,000 grit. Now you're a wood turner, and basically we're burnishing the wood like you would do on a lathe. You know, the old timer lathes guys would get all the turning scrap, sawdust.
The wood chips.
Yeah, wood chips, and then just burnish the wood, and that's what we're doing with the 4,000. So.
Okay.
Yeah, no, and the link to the video is under the past workshops on the website, and it's hiding in there somewhere, and it's basically, you know, has a picture of this thing is on it, and it's maybe the presentation is about 30 something minutes, but the first 15 minutes is the condensed video showing all this, going through all the steps, and we, kind of like this time we didn't want to, even though I'm sure everyone would love to see a 4-hour video of the 5-hour. It's like better to condense it down and talk about it real quick.
But when I first put all the photos and stuff I had, it was 38 minutes, and I said, nah, we got to cut this down to something manageable.
Yep. But this type of joint is, I didn't know better when I was making my coffee table, but he's like, okay, this is a quick way to put the top on the table. It has 5 legs, and you have to have everything pretty much lined up perfectly and cut perfectly. So, because if not, when you stick the legs together with a domino, it'd be lopsided, and wouldn't really.
Yeah, you got to be 90, and it's so simple. And I can do extremely complicated joinery and, like I say, dovetails and all that, but I like the freedom that some of these methods have. because like I say, that my theme is, I think of something I want to make, and then I figure out how to make it. And I don't really care what I have to do to accomplish it.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, as opposed to, well, Ed Rizzardi's not here today or yesterday, but, you know, he'll be back next Monday, and he has the opposite view of where he'll cut everything out and measure everything perfectly, and
Yeah, it's funny. He can cut. I asked Ed to do a little project for a demonstration, and I said, I need a couple of pieces of wood, 3 inches by 4 inches by 1.5 inches. And he came back and he says, here's that piece of wood within 2 thousandths. You know, okay, it was just for a demonstration. Good guy to be around. He makes you work a little harder to be a little more accurate.
yep. More questions from anyone? Is there any subjects anyone wants to? Pretty much anything from basics to more advanced things. We're here to talk about it. Not me, him. I have a general idea of everything. Yeah.
Well, as you can see, this is a two-way conversation.
Yeah.
I have never, I've seen people burning the wood. I didn't know that it was, the Japanese tradition.
Yeah.
And I saw it, and I said, oh, that's cool. And then it made sense to do it on this guy.
Yeah.
So I'm makes me sad I didn't invent it. What's that?
I had a friend who did that to his whole house, and it's supposed to somewhat make it fireproof, I think.
Yeah.
But it's a neat method. I've used it a couple of times, and I think online they have different people have different ways of going about it, but typically I've heard they use linseed oil as well.
Use linseed. You broke up there.
Yeah, he's up linseed oil.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to have a finish on it, or the soot. I imagine the soot would keep coming out. But just one coat, I'm impressed that the burned cellulose is now encapsulated in the finish. I think so. Wonderful.
Yeah, and I also I carved a really giant, like, chainsaw carving, like a bear in my front yard, and I used that method. And we have winters out here and a lot of rain and snow out in Illinois, and it's held up through the winter. It really does preserve.
Ah, interesting.
How long has it lasted you?
So far, it's been about a year and a half.
So a year and a half ago, you carved like a bear with a chainsaw, and then you burned it and oiled it, and it's out there for a year and a half, and it's still doing all right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Hell yeah, dude. That's fucking awesome, man.
Yeah, it's a neat method.
That sounds like you got some good hobbies.
And it looks good. It looks good.
Yeah. I'm like I say, what other people do in this arena just fascinate me. I wish I could visit every one of all of you guys. I might. I've been known to do that.
Yeah.
We would burn the end of small diameter sticks into a point.
Yeah.
When I was a child, and we would make our own bow and arrows and go after birds, but the burning hardens it also.
Yeah.
A lot of the farmers up home would burn the ends of their fence posts
To preserve it, yeah, from the
to
rainwater.
preserve them. Oh yeah.
It must like add sort of carbonize it,
Yeah,
add a
it
little
just
bit
like-
of carbon, and
Yeah.
that's what they make the heat shield of the space shuttle out of. Most of that stuff
Yeah, but,
it's like impressionable.
just like I said, cool.
I haven't done any of my turnings with the flame yet, but after listening to you, watching you, I'm probably gonna step up and do something. Quick.
And I'd love to see it, man, because I could only imagine what that would, I mean, just it's an endless variety of things that could be experimented with and looked at.
But I'm thinking that it would eliminate my need for sanding a whole lot.
Yeah.
I just kind of burn it and get rid of the carbon and throw some linseed oil on it and leave it, and not sand it a whole lot at all. So I gotta try that.
Gee, Kevin, we got another demo. We got a. Can you film it or video it?
I tried to do a video. All I have is an iPhone.
Hey,
And
that's what I did. Yeah.
I tried to do a video with it, and I got an automatic clicker to turn it on and off. I thought I was doing great, and I would work a little bit and stop it, and then change things and work a little bit, stop it again, and go. And I ended up with like 5 or 6 short videos.
Yeah.
I don't know how to put them together.
Welcome. Learning
An
curve.
iPhone's all you need.
Yeah.
I have a YouTube channel. I only got like 600 subscribers, but all I got is an iPhone to videotape. And I use iMovie, and I just cut them down, and it works.
Do you do that on your phone also?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a computer, and I have like a better video editing software program, but it's so freaking complex. Like, it gives me 1,000 choices to where I just want to speed it up and cut it. And so I just use my phone. It's way simpler, and I think it turns out better just because it's not overly complicated,
Keep it simple.
Says you.
Yeah, said you 40-year-old dude, right?
Yeah.
Although, Steve, if you want, we could talk later or some other time, and
I would love to see you're experimenting with that. I mean, because it opens up a lot of interesting avenues. I've never heard of that before.
Yep.
How would I go about just sending you a short video clip? Just email it?
Email it to.
And you have my email address, and you just email the stuff to me. We'll talk ahead of time or whatever it is, but.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'll start tomorrow, and I'll do some
Okay.
videos, and I'll just send them to you, and you can look at them, and if you want to play with them and put them together, go ahead.
You're on. Okay, try what I really thought was cool. I don't know how you see the sapwood and the heartwood, and a little bit of bark. If you could find a piece of wood that has a mix of heart and sapwood, and then spin it and cook it and see what it turns. You see how it works. We ran them off.
Hey Dennis, I have a question for you.
I'm sorry, I want to wait for a minute,
Okay,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
but I want to show you this.
we'll get back to you. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
So it's like a live edge bowl or something?
Yeah, so it's actually got sapwood. It's got heart on.
Oh, I think.
Not heart. What's that little thing that goes down through the center of a tree?
The pith?
Pith.
Pith.
Yeah.
It's got pith on both ends, and then the live edge.
I think with a little creativity, I think that would look really cool with some soot and burn.
I gotta get a better.
Shishugi bun.
I call it
gotta
soot
get a
and
better
burn.
webcam.
That's so cool.
Anyway, I'll throw something together. I'll start tomorrow. and
Okay.
I'll just go right from scratch.
Go for it, man.
Yeah, and
All right.
the best thing about making videos as a woodworker is you need a stand to hold your camera steady, and most woodworkers I know have a million clamps lying around, and that actually makes it a bit easier. You know, I don't need to go out and buy
Yeah,
anything special.
this is what I use, you know, just, right?
Yep. We'll do that, climb it to something else. And,
You had a question, the other guy had a question there?
Yeah, my name is JC. Dennis, I have a question for Dennis.
Casey.
You know, woodworking is new to me, but I've been doing carpentry and carvings. But getting into fine furniture building is something I'm interested in. And when I'm on the forums, it seems, and I could be wrong, that everyone defines fine furniture as some type of, you know, mortise and tenon. I've seen your work, and your work is definitely fine furniture, and you're using, you know, different styles of these pocket joints and these dominoes, and it appears as though your definition of fine furniture is in the form or the shapes or the materials, higher quality like species of wood. I guess my question is what defines something as fine furniture versus just functional furniture?
Well, you've stumbled into my favorite subject, the history of woodworking. You know what? It has changed a lot in the last few years. You know, when I first started, are you familiar with Sam Maloof? Okay, are you familiar with George Nakashima? These are maybe we'll have to put on something with a little bit of historical context. There were two schools back in the 50s, basically, and I'm generalizing a lot. The East Coast and West Coast. The East Coast guys, beautiful work. I love George Nakashima is in that group, but they had very specific things that they would have to do. You know, the fine furniture had to have dovetails and no metal fasteners and all that, and it's beautiful work. I mean, I can't do that. I mean, I don't want to do that. I've actually done it, but the creativity is more, or they seem to care more about the idea of the making as opposed to the object that they're making. I don't know if that makes sense. In California, and this is why Sam Maloof is so important, you study Sam Maloof and you will get an understanding of what we in California, or what he in California and people like me picked up from him, is getting away from a lot of the traditional stuff. In fact, Sam would use screws and other things, and people thought that he was a hack. And if you know, Sam Maloof was one of the most important woodworkers, according to President Carter, and a good friend of Sam's, was the best woodworker in the world. But he didn't care about the tradition. He just cared about the object. That's what I care about. I just want to make things that are beautiful to me. You know, I may make something, or you may think, oh, I really don't like that. Well, that's great. It gives you something to look at. Say, I don't like that, but if I did something like that, but I changed this guy here and I had this, and it gets your creative side going, and you do what you think is beautiful. We don't have to be thrown into this, you know, us round holes or round people being stuffed into a square shape. And that's what my interpretation of the California traditions, or the West Coast traditions of woodworking. I love what the fine woodworkers, you know, at the Bennett School of Fine Woodworking in Boston. I love what they do, but it's very, it's in a tight box, but it's beautiful. It's perfect.
Yeah, could I add my impression as just getting started with this is I think for the definition of fine woodworking versus just making furniture, making a bed frame or something of that type is what you put into it, like with materials, how, your finish, how much time do you spend working on it, sanding it and doing everything to make it one of the nicest pieces of furniture you could basically have in your home or wherever it's going to go. And and basically I think it starts with the type of wood you use. You want to use one of the hardwoods to and make it, it's basically something that's going to last 50 or 100 years, I think is my definition in my mind. Is it's something that you can make, and instead of tossing it, you're going to refinish it by sanding it for a couple hours and put a little more oil or whatever on it, and it's going to look just as good as it did the first day that you made it. And I don't know.
I often think, the difference between what I do and I think a lot of other woodworkers is I am willing to spend, this took me 6.5 hours, okay? I'm willing to spend 100 hours if that's what it takes to make this beautiful, for me. And I think, Dennis, there's a big world out there and there's lots of other things to do, but I'm sitting in here grinding and making sure that these hard lines, they're totally insignificant, but for lack of a better word, it amuses me and I think it's beautiful. The simple 6-hour piece, I could have stopped a long time ago, but now to me, this is a piece of fine furniture. I will enter this along with my other furniture in competitions and shows, and we'll see how it goes. So, I don't know that much about the central, like Michigan area, but they're wonderful woodworkers I've heard from. But the California traditions really kind of upset the norm back in the 50s, the traditionalists and stuff. And Sam, actually, I had a guy, a major wood supplier. I told him that I admired Sam Maloof. He owns. He passed away, but he owned Rare Woods in Maine. And I said, "Oh, I really liked Sam Maloof's furniture." And he said, he used wood screws, or drywall screws or something like that. And I said, okay, so, Sam Maloof is his chairs now with metal screws in them are worth $100,000. So, yeah. Art Espinay Carpenter is another guy. I don't know if you're familiar with him. Another, have you heard of the California roundover tradition? That was kind of, that's what the East Coast guys said about the West Coast guys, that, they just round over. Well, Art Espinay Carpenter, fortunate name, basically everything he did was rounded over with a router bit, with a roundover, and he makes beautiful stuff. And he is the cause of the California roundover. You look into this a little more and you'll hear that. Well, it's because of Art Espinay Carpenter and Sam Maloof. And Sam, they were contemporaries and actually probably friends. Yeah. So anyway, I go on.
Yeah, I appreciate the answer. I think what you do is amazing. I appreciate you sharing the art versus the tradition. I appreciate that. Yeah,
I was gonna say that's kind of one of our goals is for people just getting into it to see an opinion outside of YouTube, right? So every Monday, him and Ed Rizzardi will be on 5 p.m. Pacific time, talking about stuff, and it's a lot better than what you'll see on YouTube for perspectives on woodworking. Yeah,
there's a lot of good woodworking things out there, but it does go more for the traditional, the cabinet makers and all that kind of stuff. Which, if I can tell, I know I can tell a quick story, but I was a fine furniture maker and having tough time making a living, and I actually had a conversation with Sam Maloof, my idol. He lives 5 minutes away from here, and I put on a woodworking show, and I invited him to show one of his pieces. And I went to his home, and a gracious gentleman, uh, everything you could imagine, just a normal guy. And I asked him if he would submit one of his pieces to my little show, local thing. And he said, you know, I'd love to, but I can't because it would cost more to insure it, you know, than it would, you know, but because it was a free thing. And then we talked a little bit, and I said, you know, I really love doing this, Sam, but it's tough to make a living. And he said, I understand that. I've been fortunate. Some of the guys make cabinets. And of course, I was a furniture maker, fine furniture maker, and I was too good. You know, I'm a furniture maker, not a cabinet maker. But basically, Sam said it was okay to make furniture or make cabinets. So I actually became a cabinet maker because I had all the tools to make a living. And then I've always done the art, you know, this kind of stuff as I wish. There's no commercial motive to this. You know, I've made commissions stuff, but now I say make or buy what I make, and that's all you know, if you don't like what I make, then we'll see you later. But, you know, that's kind of the transition. You know, I can do both, but this is what I wound up doing, so. Okay? Now, we're not gonna do these on Tuesday anymore,
Right.
okay?
At least for Dennis and
Monday
Mondays
is
we're
it.
basically every Monday 5 p.m. Pacific time is about all we could really get going here. So
Yeah, we committed to this, and that's why we're doing it today. But from now on, it'll be every Monday, and then maybe once a month we'll have a major, you know, something like this, a little bit more.
yeah, and then there's other people that might be doing workshops of their own too, and I'm talking to some people to do that too. So you know, if anyone's interested, just let me know. But anyways, we're gonna wrap things up. Thanks everyone for coming and hanging out with us for an hour, and we'll hopefully see you on Monday. Any last questions or words from anyone?
Oh, thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
Love doing it.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thanks for showing up, and we'll see everyone next time. Have a good day.
Take care.
Thanks, Dennis.
See you, Kenny. And Kevin, that was fun.